business to new insane revenue levels doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's all about the right strategy, team, efficiencies, and confidence. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Evolution podcast. With over 1 million downloads, it's the go-to business podcast dedicated to business owners who want to evolve out of operating in the day-to-day and make their dreams come true. I'm your host, Annette Walter, and I'm so happy you are here. As a former banker, I have now been an entrepreneur for over 15 years and have started, grown, acquired, and sold over 20 multi-million-dollar companies to date. Together, you and I will strengthen your existing business, build your dream team and process, grow your wealth and legacy, all while surrounding you with a community of rockstar entrepreneurs just like yourself. Are you ready to evolve? Let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to this week's episode. Before I introduce our fabulous guest today, I want to personally ask you a question. Have you prepared and done your planning for 2022? And it's a really important question because a lot of people oftentimes think that they have it figured out, think they've done it. Maybe it's in their head. Maybe they've done pieces of it. Perhaps they've only done first quarter, second quarter, or maybe they've even over planned. But there is a strategy behind a plan for the year. And what I am inviting you to do personally today is to carve out some time and schedule some time with me personally to talk about your business. This is a 20-minute free breakthrough session so that we can take a look at the 7 pillars of your business: marketing, technology, finance, sales, your team, your process, and then you as the leader. I want to take that time with you and invite you to look at those 7 pillars of your business so that we can map out your plan for 2022. I really look forward to that time with you. And if you check the show notes, there's a link to schedule some time. Just go ahead and click on it and do it. And I promise you, you won't regret it. You will not regret it. It is time for you to think on your business and make sure you really have all of your I's dotted and T's crossed for 2022. Today's guest, she is phenomenal, Elizabeth Miranda, and she is the owner and CEO of CF Fluency. She's most recently noted as one of the fastest 50 growing companies for the Women Presidents Organization. She has a global brand and is making an impact in the translation world as it relates to healthcare and life sciences. Her company has grown so significantly, and she just is honest in her history and her story and what worked for her. She's real and she's human. And guess what? If you see her out, she's probably going to be the last one with you at the bar to close things down because she believes in relationship building. We laugh a lot in this episode and we share a lot. And I just love the connection that I have with Elizabeth and the inspiration that I got from her and what she brings to you on this episode. So I hope you enjoy it. Please make sure you are leaving a review. These go so far, and I appreciate you spreading the word about the podcast. It has grown so much, and it is impacting the entrepreneurial community significantly. And it's because of you. It's because you're here. It's because you're listening to the episodes. You're growing. You are evolving. And I am so incredibly proud of you. Thanks for being here and enjoy today's listen. Welcome, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you are here today. We are joined by Elizabeth Miranda. She is the president and CEO of CF Fluency. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, everyone. And thank you for making time to listen to us today.
And congratulations on your most recent recognition by the Women's Presidents Organization for fastest 50 growing companies in the United States. Well, actually, that's a global recognition, isn't it? That's great.
I know. But the fun part of the story, that was my 10th years applying. So every single year I applied and then get the beautiful letter, like thank you for applying. Congratulations on all your accomplishments. Unfortunately, you didn't make Pararapapa. And then this year, we were very busy, and I forwarded the application to my marketing director. And then she said, are you sure we should apply again? Because we have applied for 10 years. And I said, listen, use the same application, change the numbers, let them tell us no. And then we got it. So I said, see, you don't get what you don't ask for. So.
I love that. I love that. And I'm so glad that you just shared that story. So that's great. That's great. Huge, huge, huge accomplishment. I love your just overall attitude and your tenacity. You can just feel it. So let's rewind. You can start wherever you want to start. Fill us in on your story and the company.
Okay, so I'm from Brazil, and I had 11 small business in Brazil before I moved to the US, and all very, very small business. And the economy in Brazil was pretty much like is now, like does go back and forth, ups and downs. And my daughter was going to elementary school, and I have only one, and for a reason, I want to give her a good education, give her everything that I did not have. And then I realized that when it was time to put her in the best school, I could not afford. So I said, well, okay, this is not good. And my sister-in-law lived in the US, and she said, oh, if you move here, you can get a job very easy. You guys could do great. You guys worked so hard. So I got my ex-husband, my daughter, that was then 6 years, 3 luggages, our whole life, moved to the US. Mm-hmm. And it was not that easy to get a job because we did not speak any word in English. So wow. What year it was very difficult. And then, but my sister-in-law was a translator. So I said, well, I can read the Portuguese. And then, so I started doing proofreading and bookkeeping for her. Okay. Numbers are all the same. So it was very fun because when I did all the books, I realized that she did not have money to pay me. So I said, okay, so I need to make this company grow a little bit so I can get paid. And that's what we did. And we started doing translation for other languages too. We became partners. And the way that we focus on healthcare, that's what we do. Mm-hmm. I had an experience that was really big for us. Like my daughter in the second week of school, I got a call saying, you have to get your daughter immediately because she tests positive for tuberculosis. Oh. So this was done through a interpreter, actually my sister-in-law. And well, fast forwarding, it was not that. Like in Brazil, everybody gets vaccinated. So you test false positive. Right. However, the people, the nurse and the doctors in this school were not exposed to people that are vaccinated. They did not know and made this big deal. Right. So when we start...
Let me just ask you a question. What year are we talking right now?
Oh, we are talking 1994.
94. Okay, got it. Perfect.
Yes. And then what happened is just like when we start, when I was like developing the business plan for the company with my sister-in-law, I said, well, we need to focus on culturally relevant translation. And healthcare was just a natural fit for that because it's so important. Yes. And that's how we do. Fast forward, my sister-in-law is no longer with the company. And I start like when I bought my weighing was with $10,000. Yeah. And now our company is a global company. We offer culturally relevant translations for healthcare and life science in 170 languages. And we have 110 employees, are in practically like 9 countries, and everything is history. So it worked. It was a lemon that we made a lemonade. It works pretty well, and I'm very, very blessed.
Oh my goodness, look at you. Okay, so a mom with a desire to totally make a better life for her daughter. And fast forward, now you're you're a global company, 110 employees, translating healthcare and life sciences into 170 different languages.
Perfect summary.
Wow. Okay, so let's go, because oftentimes our audience that are successful business women and businessmen, just like yourself, it's always like the how to, like you hear like, okay, well, this was how it started and this is where we are now. So let's talk about the crawl. Let's talk about the in between. What did employee number 1, employee number 2, employee number 30, employee number 50 look like? How does it happen?
So it was very interesting. Like, I always believe that because of coming from such a tough economy, right? So we don't spend really money, like don't consume anything. So the first employee actually was like, let's have somebody that's part-time. And then ended up being somebody that stayed with us for 14 years. She retired, but it was a part-time employee. And what I did, and my sister-in-law did, to work 100,000 hours, right? So for a long time, could not depend on the money from the company. So I would even do jobs on the side to be able to keep the company going. And then one thing that I'm really good at is networking. Mm-hmm. So even when I could not speak English, that's what we would do. So I would go to conferences, I would go to Chamber of Commerce networking, anything that was people that could listen to me, I would go, and then you start like getting a little bit here, a little bit there. And then what really made the difference for me was the supply diversity programs that exist, right? So I learned pretty soon about being a minority, being a diverse company, and get certification.
Yes.
And I did that. And as soon as we could, I did that.
Right.
And one day, what really was a turning point of my company, I was certified. We are in New Jersey, right? Like our headquarters is in New Jersey. And I was certified with the state of New Jersey, got an invitation for RFP, and we did not have what it takes, but you have partners, right? So I'm very involved on our community, on our translation community. So had other business owners that I knew, and so there was just huge. At that point, I did not even know that was huge. But it was a RFP for a university, at the time, University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, that now is Rutgers.
Yeah.
And we answered the RFP, and there was phone interpretation. It was one of the services. I had no clue, but I found a partner, and I said, I'm answering this RFP. If I get it, can you provide the service? Sure. So we did it. And I was so lucky. The incumbent, which was the largest company at the time, for some reason, they did not show up. They didn't realize, I think. So it was God. I don't know. So we ended up winning. We were one of the winners. And well, we were not the only one. But I developed a very good relationship with the procurement person. And then she actually told me which departments were using more. Right. And I went to the one for the phone interpretation, and was life transformation. So it at that time was over $1 million contract a year. And my company, the whole company, was not even 400. Right. So, and we got it. And it really made a difference in terms of cash flow. Yes. And to me, it's something that I always say, and I still do this up until now. I'll let people tell me no, right? So I'm not going to disqualify myself. You have to be in the game. You have to be willing to win. Sometimes, of course, you do realize that it's not on your area of expertise, but if you can partner, then you can do it, right? So, and to me, that's how I did all the way, still doing, I got a recent contract, 2 years already, with it's a global contract that has changed the way that we do business. We had to open companies overseas because of it. And again, through the supplier diversity community, it's a pharmaceutical company that has a very strong program. I had an amazing relationship with the supplier diversity there, manager there, and he invited me, and I knew we couldn't do it. We could not prove we didn't have global presence, so only in the Latin America. So I call people and found a partner. Say, you want a partner? And they were invited to, they were smart, decided to partner and answer with us. And we won. Wow. It has been transformational because now we are global, and then you have, because you are global, you have other opportunities too. So again, it's believing, and I don't think that is anything that we cannot do with the right partners. So
that's so great. And that's such a great share, because you navigated the landscape, right? The procurement space can be completely overwhelming. I'm assuming that you're a WBENC member, the Women Business Enterprise National Council.
Yes, and also in MSDC because I'm Latina. So I'm also in MSDC.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, good. So navigating that space, which all of this takes time, right? And then sifting through that perfect person to talk to, and what to talk to them about specifically, and then getting those different requests that they have, those different needs that they have, and going for it, whether you're ready or not, right?
It's not, so I think it's one thing to me, Annette, that it's very important, and I really talk about this with my team all the time. Of course, you need to deliver, but if people don't like you, they don't give you a chance. Mm-hmm. So I think that one of the things, and we like diverse women, right, and also minorities, you come with a stigma that you are a small company, that you may be not as well prepared, like with your big competitors. So in order for people to give you the chance, they really need to trust you. Right. And trust is not developed on the first encounter, right? So I go to every single WBENC and conference and every single NMSDC conference. Right. Now for 14 years. Right. I don't miss one. And I see the people, it's the same people. Right. They change companies, but they are the same people.
Right.
So I go every year because then it's relationship development takes time.
It does.
Right?
It does.
And people will not give you a chance. They're not going to take the risk if they don't trust you.
Right.
And to me, you're never going to trust somebody that you don't like. So you need to be likable first.
Right.
But at least they give you a chance to talk to them. Right. And then it's just, I never go and try to sell my services. I had a funny story that there was a supplier diversity manager that I saw like probably for 5 years. We would have drinks all the time because I close all the bars. I make sure, because that's where people develop a relationship, right? So I close the bars. So
there's the real strategy.
It works for me. So, but I like people. I like to talk, right? So I'm always with her. Always. One day we were walking like in the hallways of the conference, and she would look at me and say, "Elizabeth, what does your company do again?" And I said, what a horrible salesperson. I know this person for 5 years. So she doesn't even know what do I do, right? So, right. But to me, by the way, I ended up like getting a contract with her company, but after a couple of years, once she learned what I did. but it's really true. I think that people underestimate the power of being trusted, being liked. And then, of course, if you have to deliver, you can't have a second chance, right? Then you have to really do an amazing RFP. And when you get a project, you have to over-deliver. But if you don't do the first one, you're never going to get there. You can be an amazing company. If people don't like you, you're not going to get a chance.
Well, and those RFPs can be so overwhelming.
Oh, they are.
Right. So how did they feel in the beginning? And then how do they feel now? Because I just want you to paint that picture, because you're talking, 15 years of a progression here. So that part.
So it's extremely, we improve every single time.
Right.
It's just, but we always put a lot of effort on doing it, right? So I really believe that you need to be equal before you differentiate yourself. And I consider my company still an underdog. So for you to be equal takes a lot, right? So it's really paying attention to what they are asking. And again, I'm going to repeat myself, but being part of the supply diversity management organization, so you have workshops on how to answer RFP, you have programs, but we literally walk you through. There is mentorship programs that you can participate, and they give you brutal, honest feedback. Right. That you hear and you say, oh, okay, so that no wonder I'm not getting anything. So that's how I'm coming across. But if you never work on a corporation, which was my case, so you don't know really how they see things, right? So again, it's taking advantage of every single opportunity that is given to you, and there's a lot of opportunities to learn, right? And that's what we do. And now, like, we are very critical of ourselves, and every time that we do RFP and then we go and do a presentation, we do the postmortem, and we are very critical. Like sometimes the team gets upset, but I'm critical of myself too. It's not that I'm telling them that they did a bad job, right? So it's just like I'm saying, well, in the presentation today I sucked. So I'm so disappointed. It's just, why didn't I do better? And it's funny because when you do that, people go into your defense. No, you did good. Right. I didn't.
That's a really good share. That's really, really helpful. So with the world getting smaller and smaller, more connected, more tight knit with everything we've gone through, right? And especially technology bringing us even closer together. What's the future look like for the company and for you? I can only imagine how many opportunities are out there.
Absolutely. So we are in our company, we say that right now you don't even talk about translation anymore. Translation is a given. So everybody expect good quality on time. So that's a given. So everything's about technology, right? So we are focusing a lot on, made a lot of investments 2 years ago. I had two people in technology. We have 12 now, and we still looking for more people, and have two development companies that is also working with us. Everything's about integration. Like we manage content, right, for other companies. So when you talk about this, you have machine translation, you have artificial intelligence, you have integration of systems to be able to produce content in all languages in real time. Nobody wants to have English first and then send the stuff for translation. So there is a lot that we are doing in this area. And a lot of people see like, machine translation, artificial intelligence is a challenge, right? And we're going to disappear as an industry. Definitely not, because now it can be produced cheaper and faster.
Right.
People are translating more. So there is a lot more opportunities. And even like, for example, in our space, so that is in the life science and healthcare, right? There is all this awareness now that did not exist before. Like when you are doing clinical trials, you have to have representative of every single different race, ethnicity, all these things, because we are all made of different components, right? And it's fascinating. But for example, the tolerance for pain in different cultures is very different. Here in the US, we are so spoiled because we don't get cold we have here, we don't get hot, we have air conditioner. That's not reality in the world. So here, a little pain for us is that, oh my gosh. And there are, in the rest of the world, that's not a reality. So when you are measuring the effectiveness of a drug, for example, for pain, is very different.
Yep.
So that's what kind of work that we do. And I think that there is a lot of opportunities in that sense for you to really have better health outcomes. And our company mission is to improve lives. And so that everything that we do is with this concept. There is a need to translate content about everything, right? And there are the people that can do that. We really make our decisions. Does this improve lives in some way, shape, or form? And that's how we pick what we do. And for that, there is tons of opportunities out there.
Absolutely. It's such a good, strong, solid mission. And you are a spark of inspiration. I have to say, I mean, you've created this global company, global network. It's amazing. So what keeps you going as the CEO?
My people. So I really feel that, and it's not only creating jobs, like as I said, our mission is to improve lives. And what we want to do is to improve the lives of every single person that we touch, right? So that means our clients, our employees, their family, our vendors. And I really believe in entrepreneurship. I come from a very, 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 very poor upbringing. And I think that the only thing that can change the world is really, it's not like government programs that's going to give you any kind of benefit for a while, is entrepreneur. And when you compare what corporations generate in terms of employment and the opportunities that entrepreneurs create in the world, it's phenomenal, right? So we really have a very, very, very big part to play. And to me, like I have my company really, I'm very proud of the culture that we have. And the culture is not me. The culture is the people that we bring. And creating opportunities for them, it's so important to me. Like if the company keeps growing, I have an opportunity to give better jobs, give a career path, give better salary, and really have an impact. So what keeps me going is the desire really to improve the lives of the people that we touch. We have like very, very strong beliefs like that people should bring themselves for work. I don't believe in life and work balance. I don't believe in that. I really think that you have a life, right? So that you do different things. Like it's prohibiting our company to say thanks God's Friday, because to me, if you work your life for 2 days, you better go look for another job because you're miserable here now working. So what keeps me going is that it's just like it's just rewarding feeling that every time that we bring another client, we can hire more people. We grew 48% this year.
Wow.
And we doubled the number of employees in the next 2 years. So this is phenomenal, right? So
phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Yeah. And I love how you said, that's the greatness of entrepreneurship. And that's why we're doing this. And that's why this community, our audience here exists. They're all people that are creating cultures that are allowing people to do better in life, to live their lives, to create their lives, to design their lives. And it's so important. So that really, really I loved everything you just said. I did.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we don't give ourselves a lot of credit for, because it's not easy, right? A lot of us probably would be able to make more money going to work for somebody else.
Maybe, who knows?
But it's just drive of really accomplishing things. And I always tell this to whenever I speak with entrepreneurs, it's just it's hard work. It's not easy. It's very lonely. even though you have organizations like WPO that you can have peers that you be talking to. All my friends pretty much are from the entrepreneur world because I made during work, right? Mm-hmm. So, but even that, when you are on your company, it's very lonely, right? So a lot of things you have to just suck it up, and you cannot go and share with the team. Mm-hmm. So it's not easy, right? But I think that the rewarding when you see, like, when you get like this thank you emails or people saying like how they feel about working in the company, it's just like, oh,
I know. It warms your heart. It does. It does. Okay. So as we're wrapping up here, when you do have those moments of doubt, do you have a personal mantra or a personal saying that you repeat to yourself to kind of keep you going? Any go-to phrase there?
I really believe that everything happens for a reason. And when you put good things in the universe, you have a good intention, good things are going to happen to you. Bad things are going to happen too. But then you have the strength to say, okay, that was really for you to value what is good in your life, right? So
absolutely. Absolutely. So where can we find you, Elizabeth? How can we support you?
Well, if anybody knows anybody that needs any kind of culturally relevant translations in any language for healthcare, or we also work not besides healthcare, non-for-profit organizations. We are doing a lot like with things that are important in life. We just did a non-domestic violence program that was amazing. Right. We have YouTube, we are present on Instagram, on LinkedIn, is CQfluence.com. A lot of what we do in the name of the company, not me personally. Right. I'm working on my personal brand, but not there yet.
I love that. I love that. Good. Well, make sure you send me all that so we can drop that in the show notes.
Absolutely.
So everyone can learn more about your company and your growth and your services and support you. Thank you for being here today. This was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
I can't wait for our next event because I might close the bar with you, girl.
Please do it.
I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being here.
Pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Wow. What an episode. Did you learn something new? I hope so. I am so happy you were able to be here with us today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a review and I will be sure to read it and respond to you. Also, if you'd like to email me, my email address is yourock@iEvolveConsulting.com. Hit subscribe and every Tuesday you'll get notification when the next episode drops. We really have some amazing interviews and tips in the future. Anything you need, I'm here for you. I want you to keep your momentum. I want to help you stay accountable. I want you to stay inspired. I want you to evolve. So please let me know what you need, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care until next time.